Thanks for watching News Echoes and World Affairs. I'm so glad you're watching. My name is Shegun Johnson, and I have in the studio with me all the way from Toronto, Canada, Sir George. Sir George, you're welcome to the program.
Good morning, Dr. Johnson, and good morning, viewers from around the world. Welcome to our show today.
From the commercial city of Nigeria, we have Bidi Nana. Bidi, you're welcome to the program.
Dr. Shegun, good morning. Thanks for having me once again. Viewers all around the world, thanks for joining us again today. Let's do it like always. Good morning to the studio.
Thank you very much. And in Milan, we have Massive Mark. Mark, you're welcome to the program.
Morning, Dr. Shegun. Dr. Shegun, you're sounding a little military today. It looks as if the war has started. Are we about to go into war?
That's interesting. I'm just trying to compose myself today, trying to see how we can handle all of these Titanic matters. Many of us will remember that 111 years ago, the Titanic sank, and in between Northern Ireland, or shall I say Ireland and United States. And many people have been there. Many films have been made. Unfortunately, those who have decided to go on an expedition or sightseeing, billionaires and millionaires. They went into a submersible, something like a cube of sugar, but will never return. It's unfortunate, but let's discuss these. Sir George, what do you have on this matter?
Is strange. Things surrounding this particular story is very, very strange, and I'm not quite sure whether there is an underlying factors over this situation of his implosion and the death of the 5 people. But this is just that case of curiosity kills the cat. Is what I'm seeing here, but I don't know if there is an external forces that brought about the destruction of this submarine, or if it was just something strange like what's happening in one of these islands in the Caribbean, Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah,
I'm not quite. I've been listening to all this, but I haven't gotten any explanation that satisfies my curiosity. So I'm not quite sure. It's very unfortunate that these people have to die like that, and my condolences to the loved ones.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Bidi, how do you copy this one?
Honestly, me, I when I reading that news, I can't really place my hands around anything. I think there is, I don't know, honestly. And another thing is this: the attention the Western world is giving to that tells me a different thing. Look at the Mediterranean Sea. Look at how our boys are being drowned every day there. And when that happens, what do African countries do? They close their borders to them. Do you understand? And look at this. So I don't, and they are all millionaires. As if it's a deliberate act by them. That's what I'm saying. I think
By who?
If it's in this part of the world, they will say they were pushed. It's a spiritual thing that they were pushed. If they were Africans, I'm telling you, they will tell you they were remoted. It was they remote them
The village
into
people.
doing that. Yes, they are following them from village. That's what they will say. Honestly, if this thing was to be in Africa, they will term it a different thing. They will tell you it's a spiritual thing. Maybe the uncle from the village or the mother, stepmother, someone
But
is after them.
seriously, Mark, you think there's something in that part of the world, in that part of the water that sinks ships? The Titanic with 750 people, this one with billionaires. It's something spiritual if we can't explain it in the physical.
Dr. Shegun, it's more than spiritual. Yes, 5 people died yesterday inside a kind of cubicle setting. Now, the question is, why were they there? What were they going to do? And what kills them? And the answer to that is the white people they are curious. You know, people have been going there. This is the 3rd voyage now. People have been going there. Tourists have been going there. This particular one had this group of people. And similar occurrence. What they go to do is they go to see the Titanic that has been buried there for years. So their curiosity has taken them to a very sad end. Curiosity made them go there. They want to see all of the parts of the Titanic. So this small cubicle machine drives them all through the roundabout, the big, huge Titanic ship that has been lying on the ground. So now what happened was this particular trip, they said it exploded. It exploded somehow. That means inside the gas finished and somehow it exploded. So these men, you can see in the screen there, there is a man, there is a British billionaire, Hamshi Hardin. There is a Pakistan businessman and his son, 19-year-old son, Suleiman. The Pakistan businessman is called Dawood. There is also a French naval veteran, Nogilet. So all of these people were blown up because that cubicle also has an hour of oxygen it contains, it can take. So when that hour finishes, anything could happen. Now, the other funny story to this is the man on your far left, far right, below far right, the captain of the Ocean Gate Company, the CEO, Stockton Rush is his name. Coincidentally, is married to the great-grand daughter of one of the Titanic victims. His wife is the great-granddaughter of one of the couple, the old man and the old woman that held themselves in the movie. If you had seen the Titanic movie.
Yes, we did. We saw it. Yeah.
That man and woman that was sleeping. The great-granddaughter is that captain's wife. And another interesting thing is that captain also made similar boasts of his cubicle. He's the owner of the company. You know what he said prior to this voyage, this journey? He said nothing could go wrong. That this is the most perfect arrangement they could have in a Titanic sub. You know, he said that, and similar boast, similar arrogant talking was what we also had in the days of the Titanic's captain, the real Titanic ship captain. You know, he said a similar thing, that nothing could beat this ship, and it went down. So sad enough, we had this story. It's right there beside Sir George's place. All of this is happening in a place called South St. John, Newfoundland, the coast of Canada. And now, like BD said, a lot of machines, a lot of people at work trying to bring at least debris and little.
Have the bodies been found?
Yeah, the bodies can be found because you're talking of the far deep sea. So at that place, when you have such an occurrence, the human body splits like ash. You know, it just push. So you can't get things in that hole again. That's number one. Number two, you know, creatures could be there and they could have eaten up or something, but they can't get any hold of anything. What they can only see are debris of the ocean gate.
Thank you for that vivid explanation. Sir George, we understand it's close to your place. I mean, it's in the Canadian waters. Any news from Canada, especially?
No news so far. No news at all. No news. And, you know, I was listening to Obama, you know, the interview with one of the CNN anchor people. And then he was basically saying what BD said, the attention that is being given to 5 people that died versus the almost 700, or how many of them that died in the sea, the people that capsized.
Yes.
Yes,
I was
over
going to say that.
600.
Over
Yeah,
600.
as we are talking, as we were saying that of the incident yesterday, right at the Mediterranean Sea, close to Spain, 60 Africans were taken out by the sea as they were
Before the
crossing.
60, there were hundreds.
Okay. As at last night, I had 60, so it has increased, and I think that should be a story on its own later. Thank you.
Yeah, but you see the irony of this whole entire situation. These 5 people combined together, the money that they spent to go for this expedition, if it was actually given to some of these people that had died, the possibility that they will not be looking for greener pastures somewhere will be there, that they might even be in their own countries today, using small amount of money to do business. But because of this, the economic conditions of most African countries, these people are so desperate that they have to, get into this dangerous voyage just to save their lives. But it's just ironic that, combined together with these 5 people that just died, their wealth, if they were to give 50% of it to charity or to help these countries, that people that are just clamoring, trying to find a way to have, 3 square meals. Even some of them are 1 meal a day will sustain them. So these are the ironies of life.
Yeah.
Expedition to go under the sea and see a wreckage with boastful, whoever the person that owns this thing. Pride comes before a fall, my brother.
Let's welcome into our midst Dr. Godwin Ibe. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you very much for tuning in.
How many of us remember the case of the Malaysian airline on the 8th of March 2014 that took off MH370, never landed anywhere on planet Earth, nowhere in the ocean? Do we still have any news on that, if anyone remembers?
Yes. Till today, no. They got debris of some little freckles from the vessel.
No, those debris were not of MH370.
Okay.
So what's the mystery? I mean, a plane load of hundreds of passengers just disappeared into the thin air. What happened?
Dr. Shago, maybe if I will put some things, our planet is also being controlled by some mysteries, and even though a lot of people argue that, but there are some spiritual occurrences, spiritual movements that also happens. Scientists
will not take a whole plane of passengers, will they?
Maybe they've gone to heaven.
They've gone to heaven with their physical body. Nah, not with their sinful body. Dr. Ebe, you are the medical scientist here. Well, how do we explain how these people die? Same spot on Titanic, 111 years after. We're just to celebrate their 112 next year, but no, not to be. How do we explain that? And this MH370, no physical scientific explanation with all the rocket science we've known in the last 50 years.
First of all, I would say it's a very, very sad, unfortunate situation. My heart goes out to the family, friends. It's really sad, any death. But I also want to clearly point out the other, unfortunate incident that have been paid little attention to, as mentioned here, and they are disproportionately affecting the poor, and especially people from Africa and immigrants. I'd like to, my heart goes out to the victims of families and friends. And like has been rightly pointed out, I would like by Dr. Shegun about if the money being spent was given to these victims, probably they won't be seeking greener pasture. But I want to go one step further to say, if these traffickers pimps or whatever you call them aren't encouraged and aren't making profit, they won't be continuing that trade. Because there's always a facilitator, there's always a supply and demand, and that is why such sector is booming. Let me use the word booming. So a lot needs to be done. Unfortunately, someone is benefiting from it. There's vested interest in it. That is why enough attention and focus isn't placed on it. If you talk about building walls in America, you understand what will happen for immigrants. You understand what will happen and the kind of debate that it will spark. And I don't want to go into that because that's not my business. But it's just a trend which you can also, increase on a global scale. Now, concerning the remains of the people, yes, it's always a question of how much funding budget do you want to invest in recovering people in the deep sea. 70% of the earth is water, and when we talk about sea, we're talking about both width, depth, and length. It's a lot of money. Sometimes you need to invest, so you have to always offset budget with plausible hints.
Results.
Plausible hints. Also, we understand that there's some evidence that have been gotten that the ship imploded before it got damaged. So the chances of finding life is less. The authorities already know that what they are looking for is not life but dead bodies. So such attention and such you don't need a lot of speed if you're looking for dead bodies as against when you're trying to save lives or an emergency situation. Last but not the least.
Sorry to stop you. Will this checkmate the level of adventurous curiosity of the West?
Never. Never. It's never.
It's a natural thing with them. They can never.
It's natural.
In fact, it will hyper.
More people will even want to go there and find out what has been causing this. A lot of people will come up.
Yes, but I want to say, we have to. The world has to move on to a time, a period where we are not paying attention to what the media wants us to pay attention to, because we've listed situation. But why? How come is it that a lot of people are paying more attention to the submarine? It's just because they are fed. You do not start speaking about propaganda unless you're a chronic consumer of this propaganda before you become even a preacher of the propaganda. So we have to grow. The world has to grow to a point where we are able to know which news is more important based on our objective assessment and be able to pay more attention and invest more time. But unfortunately, we are not yet at that time.
A big news, isn't it? There are billionaires inside. We understand that the industry is not regulated, and the Titanic itself has gained grants in the last 100 years that it cannot be overlooked, can it?
Well, it's not. We're not speaking about Titanic. We're speaking about the submersible. Well, it's a pun. They are not connected. It's just that one of the passengers is dating a descendant of. That does not make it connected. Human life has a value. That's number one. Well, that's you can draw links. Sorry. Let me finish. Just 1 minute. Human life. If we calculate human life, there are lots of human lives that are lost on the sea, migrating to Italy, for example, every single day. For me personally, I'm saying no to all watches made of titanium. Because I don't think that word connotes something positive in terms of fortune. So yeah.
Let me come
in and say all right. Have the last word then.
Exploring the world and hidden corners of the earth is not a bad idea. So we call it curiosity, but one thing the white man is doing is discovering. And even if you want to go with the Bible, God says, man should take dominion, you know. So dominion means take charge of your territory. So people going down the sea, it's not today, they've been doing this. In fact, as we're talking, Richard Branson's company regularly goes down to the Pacific, go down to the Mediterranean. You know, they just keep checking, looking, touring around. And I think those things help to position man in a more advanced way. Most times, some of the discoveries and inventions they do comes from those voyage. You know, wristwatches, some clothes.
Possibly they were trying to learn from the mistakes of the past. Bidi, you wanted to say something?
Okay.
Yeah, I actually wanted to take us a little bit back from what Dr. Ibe said. That's the reason a lot of our youths are dying trying to cross to the Western world through the ocean is because there are pimps who are making money out of this. And I quite agree with him. Another thing is this, our leadership. Now, fairness to some of this Western world, they actually giving money to charity. But I'm telling you categorically, and I'm telling you 180% sure of what I'm talking about now. When they bring this money to Nigeria or to Africa, few number of people hijack this money. This money does not get to people it's supposed to get to. It's a common thing now in Africa. You see some people, some NGOs, you know, and even the government officials, our politicians in Nigeria, they will go and give funds to people in Nigeria, grants, you know, all those things, say few. They will gather the names of these people. They will collect this money and they will not give it to people that this money is meant for. Do you understand? So to some extent, the Western world who said they are going into charity, they actually go and they send this money to Africa. But few number of us hijack this money. It does not get to people it gets to. So I think they should do more of getting involved, talking to African leaders, not just giving them money.
Maybe we give it a shot on one of our programs because this opens a new floodgate. On behalf of the Schengen media, send our condolences to the families affected in the submersible. And I'm sure for many years to come, films and stories, folklores will come out of this again, especially when billionaires are involved. It is notable that one of our viewers, Joseph Ashikwe, said the MH370 people, they were raptured. Like BD said, well, Judge, it's left for you to accept or reject that theology.
That's what you call man's theology. That's not
man's theology. Okay, let's move on. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has landed in Paris, and he was received at the Champs-Élysées by President Macron. Mark, Champs-Élysées is closest to you out of all of us. Tell us more about that.
Yes, interesting at times. Also the president-elect of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had his first international engagement right there in France. I think that.
Somebody, what was going on there? I don't understand that clip. Where the hostess was asking the president to move on, and he didn't understand, or what happened there?
Well, you know, sometimes protocols in events like this, if you don't understand, it gets clumsy. Anyway, that's the president being received by I think that should be the secretary to the presidency, Macron. So from there, they went on to other events. But one major thing about this whole trip is that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is calling for investors to Nigeria. He's wooing investors. He had some long session with different groups of business people. And he's telling them Nigeria, there are reforms now, good economic reforms that is sustainable, that will strive well in a competitive economy, and that will help direct foreign direct investment.
Okay. Thank you. We'll take that one. Please, the dignity of a nation is very important, depicted by the president of that country. And when they meet at international conference, things have their own protocols. The hostess asked President Tinubu to move on to a room, and he preferred to take picture with her and held on to that position. And on many gestures, the woman said, move on. He couldn't move on, but I don't understand. Maybe some other people understand. Sir George, quickly, do you understand what happened there?
Well, I think that's minimal to me. What happens in between, he's a new president. This is the first to visit outside of the country as the president of Nigeria. There are some things that he will get used to. You will see the little confusion that took place, which is quite natural if they are not well trained or well informed about some of these bureaucracies and protocols.
Okay, sorry, let me quickly interject. I have worked at the high level when we went to the American offices. What happened when we got to the before we had the meeting, the Nigerian ambassadors have briefed us very well. The protocols, what you will see, what you will do. There's no excuse, and I'm talking as an insider. So what you see there was a bit embarrassing, in my own opinion. He must have been well briefed and told what to do.
If you remember what I first said, when this was taking place, I said something. I said, he is trying. That's what just came out. Yes, that's what just came out of my mouth. So personally, as much as that might be the case, I'm not going to judge him, right or wrong.
Sir George, let's also see the reaction at the point he now went to the president himself, Macron, and the wife. There are also some fidgeting or imbalanced movement. Let's see how that went.
Well, this is 2023, for God's sake, not 1960. Well, Sir George, you have 1 more minute because I want Dr. Ibe to say something.
Listen to me. Listen, I think we're measuring in minors here.
Okay, all right.
That's right. We're measuring in minors. I honestly believe that Tinubu, we know already that there are some medical issues that he's going through. Whether it's dementia or whatever, Dr. Ibe can tell us a little better. In watching a man, act the way he's acting, sometimes, that a little bit of, just not lose somewhere, but he's human. He can make mistakes. He's learning. This is his first visit. And I commend him actually on this trip to just quickly get out because he wants to get on the run and start, making moves and making things happen. And what he does in the minds of the people is that he's trying to normalize his presidency. As much as he's still in the court, and the court will decide whatever happens. But, it's almost like business goes on. We have to move on. So I commend him highly on what him going into just making a move to make sure that things are beginning to turn right side up.
Okay, maybe we'll come back to it. Dr. Ebe, any quick reaction there?
We'll give him time.
Well, I think we should go on break. Nothing more to add, nothing much. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go on break right now. When we return, we'll look at the authentic things happening in Paris and other areas of global influence. A year ago, I wrote a book titled The Final Solution, and I was trying to say to the rest of the world that there are challenges ahead. Now, a prophecy did come, and that prophecy is coming to pass. But I'm telling you, the final solution has been found many years ago in the Bible, because the Bible simply says righteousness exalts a nation and sin is a reproach to the people. So I want you to know that you can get solutions to problems in Ukraine, in Russia, in Nigeria, indeed all parts of the world. We need that solution, and the solution is straightforward. Please get a copy of my book. It's the Final Solution by Bishop Segun Johnson, and you can find it in Kindle, in Amazon. Just type Bishop Segun Johnson, The Final Solution. It's very, very small book you can read within 2 hours, but it contains the final solution. Do get a copy. Not getting it is doing disservice to humanity. Don't forget The Final Solution.
Hi there, I'm Mary Keurig, and I am a businesswoman in the United States, but I'm also the Global Content Vice President for the Sub-Saharan Open University in Nigeria. I could not be prouder to work with Dr. Osita Anamika and his team on helping to create not just entrepreneurs and skill-based talent that will get out into the workforce and make a living for themselves, but also young leaders. And to that end, with this integrity-rich university environment that's accredited now, and it's just an amazing opportunity for anyone there of any age to jump on board and learn, we want to let you know about a new offering that we have. We have a global governance and diplomacy course now provided by a whole team of people that crosses several countries to put together these resources and lots of great information for those of you who might be on the path toward public service and diplomatic service, NGO leadership, that sort of thing. We hope that you will walk through this open door and enjoy.
Thanks for staying with us. It's still News Echoes on World Affairs. We were looking at the Global Economic Summit going on in Paris as we speak. Dr. Ibe, what impact do you think this could make on the African economy year in, year out? All the African nations come together as one and meet up with the French government that people believe they're still working on neocolonialism. Does it really make sense meeting with them every year? Dr. Ibe.
Dr. Ibe, can you hear?
I think he's...
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
you can now.
Yes, sorry. What was the question again?
The question was, every year, of all the African countries, they come together and meet with one European nation called the Global Economic Summit. And people have argued that do the African nations really get anything substantive out of this investment, help, and all the rest? Is it worth it?
Well, it's always worth it to socialize at that level. It's always worth it to socialize at that level. You're not losing anything. What are they doing? What else would they do rather than sit on their armchair and just go out and breathe some fresh air and socialize with people? But that should not be the crux of our foreign policy or diplomatic or domestic policy, rather. We should move away from being aid dependent or even loan dependent to being able to generate revenue. We should move from exporting of cheap raw materials to assembling and even exporting of finished advanced products. We should move from mismanagement of our economy to proper management. We should move from illiteracy to education of our people, and so that they are able to be employed in the most advanced sectors. And we should also move from unemployment by making sure that we are producing locally so that we can employ the people that are graduating from our university. This will be more substantial policies. This is just one of the things which you have to do based on your position, but it shouldn't be the main foundation for your policies at home.
Thank you. Many African scholars believe that the French government, and probably we should say the French colonialism, was one of the worst, and still continue to perpetrate their colonialism even after the African nations have collected their so-called independence. Yet, these countries continue to meet with France, just like with Britain, and nobody is saying, can we stand alone like China did? Sir George.
Well, it tells a whole lot of about who they are and who we are. You see, because we have positioned ourselves in such a deplorable way that we are so dependent in almost everything we do. Where there was contracts signed during the independence, which most of them have expired. You see a lot of countries, that were with Belgium, and some of them with France. They are basically saying, no further. We are not crossing this line anymore. We're going to be on our own. And France actually is struggling. Is struggling a lot, with all the dependence they had on African countries, most of the colonial ones that they had colonized. So now what is happening with France and Nigeria is very interesting because they need it desperately to sustain themselves. You saw what they were doing when they were fighting over increasing of 2 years, with their retirement. Is because of lack of money to maintain that, or to spread it across. For those that are retiring, they want to push it to, I think, 2 years, and it became a big issue. And when they look at their economy and look at their finances and everything, they actually adamantly refused because they know they're running out of money. Because some of these countries they used to depend on are just, vanishing and saying, no more, we're not going to deal with you anymore. We are going to be on our own. But the question, like what Dr. Ibe was saying, is, yeah, you can stop depending or sending or maybe whatever, disconnect with these people. But what are you going to do? Are you going to be able to make a quality decision that will affect the economy of your country positively? Are you going to make decisions that will affect the younger ones that are growing up, the education, and all those type of things? So these are one of the major questions, not just simply because you're disconnecting from France or any of your colonial masters. That's all good and dandy. But are you able to sustain yourself? Are you going to be an economy that produces rather than consuming? Or are you going to turn around and go to another nation who is going to be buying your raw materials, buying your products, take it back to their own country, refine it and bring it back to you? The same case that has been happening with Nigeria in the past how many decades when it comes to crude oil, which is a sad state. So they're coming.
Let's go to Europe. Mark, President Tinubu is next to your country there. He's been meeting with some other people. Some say to legitimize his presidency. Others say, no, this will help Nigeria get more of foreign investment. Tell us into detail, if you can, what he's been doing.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, we are following the event in the hybrid way. We're looking at all the whole thing. But you see, these are some of the ways you can predict a government. When an African government comes in, the first thing they begin to look at is going out to Europe, Western world to look for partnership. There is nothing wrong with bilateral relationship between two countries for business, foreign direct investment and all that. France has quite some businesses in Nigeria, lots of it. France has about 300 and something businesses making good money out of Nigeria. But I'm going with my brothers, Ibe and George. It's time we begin to look inward and not outward. There's nothing wrong with us extracting our oil and bringing out the finished product with it, and rather going out to sell it than looking for investors that will come and sap our oil, take our oil in the crude way, and make the best use of it and give it back to us. So this whole thing is the same way they've all been doing, and they think this is how it should be. But we can change this narrative. We can change this status quo. We can bring in a different way of doing things. And like George said, France is in need of Africa now. Some of the African countries are cutting ties with France. France is losing some of its hold on the grip of the economy of Africa like it has always been. So France needs us. So we shouldn't be jettisoning and, following up as if we are desperate for them. Rather, we should stay back and do our thing, and they will come for us.
Do we know by study if all of these are just jamboree and, like Ibe said, socializing, or if they yield results? Anyone can answer this question. We just want to know, why spend millions of naira, millions to ferry people, and the president house them, feed them, and then at the end of the day, we can't see even investors are moving out of Nigeria. It doesn't make sense finally.
Do you know how many number of people went with Tinubu to France? You won't believe this. Because all the politicians are lobbying to be ministers and head of parastatals and everything. So you have close to 100 politicians right there in France with Tinubu. I'm telling you from facts, because we are watching. We are
sponsored by Nigeria money?
No. Well, I don't know. A lot of them also went with their money, and they went on their own. But obviously, the presidency has his team, and like you said, lots of money are put into that Esther code. There's something called Esther code that goes into the pocket of all of those officials, and these are just part of what we are complaining of: wastage in governance. Just unnecessarily wastage in governance. So you have so many politicians right now in France because they are lobbying Tinubu for positions.
Yeah, many people will see our president flying the Nigeria Air Force and with all the associated costs. But do you know that the British Prime Minister doesn't have a plane? Not even the king. But maybe it's a discussion.
Oh, minister. Sarcastically speaking, of course. I want to add that when African countries are serious, nobody will tell, that the other people will know. For example, Zimbabwe just banned all export of lithium. They say it's not, no raw material, no exporting. When countries are serious, they say, oh, you don't want to help us develop lithium into battery? Okay, no export of lithium. We'll eat potatoes and
our leaves.
And our leaves, yes.
We really need strong leaders.
But the funniest part of it, Dr. Johnson, when you come out like Gaddafi did in his days, you saw his end and the way that he, they pursued after him and made sure that he was messed up. Listen to this. These countries, the intelligence are just, they work together. They work together because African countries just met not too long ago, and they're discussing how to be able to help one another, how to, just interchangeably work with, one another. And they're finding ways of increasing, the viability of, trading with each other, possibly by creating a common currency that can be used all across Africa. These are things, but watch and see. When you begin to see these signs like this, don't think that these European countries are sitting back. They're going to find a way to sabotage this. They have been doing it in the past because it will not benefit them. So, and they're going to find a way to work together to suffocate this plan and make sure that it doesn't go further.
I totally agree.
I want to add something very quickly. Okay, when you're done, Sir George. Remember how African leaders were treated in Poland? I think it should be fresh in our memory, right? How the presidential details were treated. African leaders. So African leaders.
Remind us, please. Remind our viewers.
Oh yeah, let me remind you. So African, let me remind you, African leaders, they decided to go on a trip to negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine. So they flew via Poland, and their whole thing was strip searched. This is very different from countries like, I'm telling you, bare bones. They were complaining.
Yeah.
You know when the US security team goes to a country, the US does not tell you what they have. They don't tell you what is inside their plane or inside. You just have to,
and they take over your territory.
They take over your territory. They just tell you, just have to trust them, and they tell you it's classified, the security detail. But imagine African leaders, their security detail is strip searched to their underwears to see if there's a weapon inside. Very, very disgraceful. And then we had
they didn't let them.
Yeah. And then we had the advisor to Zelensky come out on air to say that African, they overreached, that it's not within their competence to delve into European affairs. That what he saw the whole trip was as a fishing trip. They went to beg for food. That's what he said on air. He said he saw it as a fishing trip. That's out of their competence. This is just an example of how.
Let me tell you what the Western leaders build on, what they feed on. They feed on integrity. If they know that you are an African leader without integrity, they will mess you up, and they know that they can take all your wealth within their powers, within their domain. I mean, all the African leaders who have stockpiled all the banks in Europe or America, they know that they have you in their fingers, so they can insult you. But if they can find one African leader with integrity, I'm telling you, they can't mess up. Look at Boris Johnson in Britain. They are messing up with him because of its integrity. That's all. That's why Boris Johnson is facing one committee after the other. He's been denied pass to enter the parliament where he has been prime minister. And one thing they feed on is integrity.
It's very shameful and disgraceful. Honestly, so the only thing our African leaders know is to eat food. They went there to beg for food. I don't think. And we're here. Some people here are siding this side. We as people who are educated, when we talk about Africa interest, we think about how we can balance our interests. Somebody was talking in one of our members in our organization was asking a question, was trying to blame I think one of the presidential candidates. I said, what? And he was trying to involve the organization. I said, like, how dare you? The presidential candidates, we invited them, come to Russia, come to China, tell us about what your points are, what you want to deliver to the country, and they let the leaders of this country also hear you so you can balance your interests out. They didn't come. Some of the candidates, I won't call their names, so they can't put all their hope in a particular power, which eventually regarded them as second fiddle because they had their own person. I won't call names, but you see. So that's why we should be a little bit more intelligent and balanced.
But I hope we can pass on the message that the only thing that they respect in the Western world, they are not perfect, is integrity. If you don't have it, they will mess you up at the airport, anywhere else. They know it. And they know our leaders. It's unfortunate people come to us and say, why do you talk about African leaders in such a way on an international forum like Schengen? And we say that the Western world know more than us. Their intelligence has given them more information than what we say here. What we say here is not half of what they know. And I'm saying this by what I know. So nobody fools the Western world. They have their 10 fingers in our pies. Before we leave Paris, Mark, where the whole world is coming to Paris next year. I'm talking of Olympic 2024 in Paris. Is Paris ready for the world? Because we saw a great inferno. We saw one man killing somebody, toddlers in the French Alps. Is Paris ready for us? Or rather, let me put it this way: is Nigeria ready for Paris?
Both ways. Everybody needs to prepare because we still have a year. We have some a couple of months to go. But for Paris, I think to be honest with you, a lot of situations are just popping up there in France, and so most times the French people don't even have answers to it. So we saw the ferry gas explosion in the center of the Paris. And as at yesterday, we had that about 42 people now have been injured seriously. They say it is a gas explosion. Some people are saying something else. We don't know how safe Paris will be for that event. Coupled with, like you said, terrorists, people will wake up, somebody's bitter, take knife, take sword, and begin to chase people around. So that happens so much in Paris. So much terrorist attack.
France is a strong nation, but at the same time very porous. Sir George, discourse.
What we are pointing out in France actually is a tip of the iceberg compared to what happens in the US every day.
Exactly. Thank you
every
so
day,
much.
Every day, massive killings. People, some of them are not even low. It's no longer newsworthy. They don't even consider that something, because unless you kill up to a certain number of people, it's not newsworthy anymore. But we see that, happening. But we don't ask that question, are they ready?
But we can draw a correlation, can't we? We can draw a correlation between these killings and immigration.
Of course.
Many of these murderers have said they were denied residence permit. Right? Many of them are touring. They have multiple destinations along their pathway to the murder, right? So we can draw a correlation. What is a correlating factor? It's either there's religious component, which is not the case in partly the case because many of these people are of a particular religion, unfortunately. But then we also have it being strongly correlated with very lax migration policies. So it's time that countries, secure their borders and stop the whole politicking with security and immigration policies.
Yeah, well, the world has a challenge, and Sir George, we're still coming back to you. Close to you is the son of a president in trouble. He's being charged for invading tax and possessing unlawful weapons, unlawful possession of weapons. Biden's son is in trouble, isn't he?
Well, he is. He's pleading guilty to some charges and misdemeanor, and which is the way.
Is he going to prison?
I don't think he's going to go to prison. And
he will go, George. He will go.
Okay,
George,
well, it's not misdemeanor.
Judge doesn't want him to go, yeah?
No, it's not that I don't want him. It's not that I don't want him to go. But you see, what it is it's all about politics. It's all about admission of guilt. When you admit to plead guilty, the charges are much less than when you are fighting and trying to obstruct justice. So it's basically saying that no one is above the law, whether you're the son of the president or the ex-president per se. So, but most of these things are all embedded or intermingled in all kinds of political processes and all that kind of stuff. But the judicial department, actually, they are doing their job. So this is like almost how many years of investigation now is coming to fruition where the man, okay, I'm going to plead guilty. When I was under the influence of drugs, I purchased a gun, under the influence. And this is part of what he's pleading to. So basically, the main story here, whether he goes to prison or he's on probation eventually, the point is no one is above the law.
This is a good news to Trump, won't it?
Very good.
Not really. Not really.
It's bad for him. It's bad for him.
It is good news to Trump because
no, it's not. No, it's not.
Why is it bad news for Trump, George?
Okay, the reason why it's not bad news, if this guy ends up going to jail,
yes,
okay, then the DOJ will also, if Trump is found guilty, will also insist on him spending days in jail or weeks or months. So that's what
it's interesting, isn't it? We're watching.
The point is, no one is above the law. That's what they say. If you
Can
prove your
somebody
case in the
echo
court,
this in Africa?
But
Can somebody echo this in Nigeria?
I want to add
Maybe.
something. I want to add something. You know, I'm a little bit reserved when I comment on countries that are not my country of residence, because I do not like to interfere in the other people's domestic affairs. So I will quote people who have already spoken, so you can go to them if you have a problem. So the GOP have slammed the deal. Let's hear their own version of the story as a slap on the wrist or a sweetheart deal. They say it's a sham that he's been painted or being portrayed as cooperating when he has committed heinous crimes, number one, for being an unregistered foreign agent, and number two, his family dealings, the other members of the family that are dealing. Somebody who is as a professed drug addict, he said it publicly. Somebody who is rich for doing nothing or specializing in absolutely nothing. And somebody who sells not his art, but a copy of his art online for tens of thousands of dollars, and it's not called money laundering. So this is what they say.
Is this not coming out of
this
the
is
Ukrainian-Russian war, Dr. Ibe? Because the more I'm listening to you, the more I'm seeing that I'm hearing about.
Yes, it's clear. You know, it's clear that anybody who wants war has investment in the defense sector. Anybody who wants war has interest or investment shares in defense companies. It's as simple as shit.
About the Biden family getting involved in Ukraine, making money out of Ukraine. So what I'm hearing you say, you are quoting GOP, is like you are continuing the position of Russia, isn't it?
But
I'm first of all, yeah, some Russian officials have said, but the president himself hasn't said it, but some officials have said it. Yes, that's a fact. But then when whatever they say is backed up by what somebody in the parliament in America is saying, then you're chasing the smoke, not the fire. The trustable, verifiable source of information is the government of the United States, the people in power who themselves, they say, not we or Nigeria, Tajikistan, or Afghanistan, that are saying that something is fishy.
Sir George wants to reply to you.
What you have to understand is that there is an alternative, what you call alternative truth or facts. If you're listening to the GOP, if you're listening to them, actually, these are Fox Newsers. These are people that tell you alternative facts. They don't believe in nothing.
We should listen to everybody. Democrats, Republicans, listen to everybody.
You have to make a quality judgment when you're listening to people that will turn the story up, upside down, and then give you erroneous facts that doesn't even make any sense. It's all politics.
Please inform our viewers what is false in what they have said. Please inform the viewers what is false.
Well, you see, because
please let Sir George inform the viewers what is false.
So the picture they're painting, they're painting a different kinds of picture, as if, well, that this man is receiving a fair, a different type of sweetheart deal because he's the son of the president. Yes, indeed, he is. But don't forget that the same way they struggled for almost a year to go after Trump because of whatever it could have been. It took them almost a year to make up their mind. And then when he came down to the wire, that's when they went after him. So yes, indeed, people that are in power, like, his son, yeah, he might receive a few number of...
So what you have said is that they are correct, but they are also guilty of the same thing. That's all you've said. They are correct, they are right, but they are guilty of the same thing.
No, let me tell you about the GOP. The GOP have gone so haywire that these people are nothing but sad Pharisees.
But Sir George, the fact remains that Hunter Biden acknowledges the importance of owning up in this case. He has owned up
guilty. Listen.
And he's committed to, he said, to recovery and future progress.
That's
so
what I'm saying.
The indictment will run, and probably Hunter Biden will be jailed. That's the fact.
And I can guarantee you that if he goes to jail, the father will not blink it twice.
Okay, gentlemen, I think we will just leave this discussion till when Elon Musk and Zuckerberg will meet to fight. We understand
Yes,
they want to
that's
physically
They're
fight
not
them.
going to do
But
that.
what is wrong when I watch billionaires fight? What do I have
no,
to
but
gain?
they can do that, George. What you say they can't? They both have they do it as part as leisure. So
Well,
They don't.
they-
Elon Musk is not. It doesn't train up on what are you saying? It's only.
but-
It's only Mark Zuckerberg that does that. In fact, he made it clear that was a joke. He said his skill was he made something that made it very obvious that he was just joking. Come on.
but the other man
Well,
said he should bring it on.
it appears the billionaires are ruling right now. Either they are ruling from the submersive place close to Titanic in Newfoundland region, or they are fighting themselves in the streets of New York. That's how far we leave it today. Thank you very much, gentlemen, from Toronto, Moscow, and Milan. My name is Sheikh Johnson. Until we see you again on Wednesday discussing latest issues on Nigeria. God bless you all.
God bless you.